You are listening to the Estheticians Earning More podcast with Brittany Hageman, episode number 167. Welcome to the Estheticians Earning More podcast. On this podcast, we talk about how to love your esthetician business without the hustle, exhaustion, or overwhelm as it booms into a successful business. I teach simple ways how to approach your business that gives you your life back while still growing a profitable business. I grew BLH Beauty in San Diego to a six-figure business, and I learned a lot along the way, which I'm excited to share with you here. So let's get started. Today, before we get started, I want to remind you of my workshop this week. I am so excited. This workshop the theme of this workshop is kind of talking about what I'm talking about in today's episode, so it does go really well hand in hand. So if you're listening to today's episode and you're like, yes, that's me. Yes, I relate to that. It connects directly to what I'm going to be talking about in the free workshop on Thursday, September 5th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you cannot make it, still register so you can get the recording. I'm calling the workshop Esthetician Business Boot Camp, but it's not an actual boot camp. Don't worry. I kind of hate the phrase and love the phrase at the same time, but really it's for esthetician business owners who are good at the esthetician work, but when it comes to making sure that there's a profit, marketing, selling a lot of products, that's where you struggle. And we're going to go over the things that maybe you've tried to do in the past and reasons they don't work, and then the things that I recommend that you do. In addition to the teaching part of the workshop, I'm going to do some free coaching. If you've been around here for a while, you know that these workshops come every once in a while, totally free, and I can talk to you about anything in your business. So if you need help with your solo esthetician business, I highly recommend coming to this workshop. On with today's show. One of the things that I know and I've seen not only with my friends that are esthetician business owners, but also my clients, is that having an esthetician business is a crash course in personal growth. And I'm going to kind of go into what that means. So first, before I tell you how this applies to you and why this is probably happening for you, I'm going to tell you a little bit more of my story of when I worked at Target. So the experience that I'm talking about today's podcast, I really didn't experience because I already experienced it working at Target. And I think when you go through challenging times, especially if it's tied to your income, like a security thing, like income, probably relationships, is the same, then it can be much harder to overcome stressful, challenging parts of that experience. So I'm speaking very vaguely, but I'll give you some examples. So when I first worked at Target, I was working hard to get promoted to an assistant store manager. I was a department manager, and I didn't get paid anything. And my job was very physical. I had to physically stock and do returns and create those end cap displays, which seem very simple, but those shelves are heavy. The product is a lot to get and put up. And I was an hourly employee, so I only had a certain amount of time, and they would change every single week. So in my department, I had 40 plus end caps. And so sometimes I'd be trading 40 in a week. Sometimes they would last longer. And so there was so many time constraints on my time. And so I had to learn how to be more resourceful in that role because I really wanted to get promoted to the next role, which was double the money that I was making, double the responsibility as well, maybe even triple. But I really wanted that role. So I had to figure out a way to do my job and be more efficient at it and succeed. And I am not naturally good in physical tasks. I would not consider myself an athletic person. I don't like to I'm not going to go kick the soccer ball with you or throw football. Why would I ever do that? That is not a skill set that I have. I've never had strong arms or strong abs. Like, I don't like getting sweaty. I don't like being hot. Um, so I was basically like, because of the recession and where like the economy was at the time, this was 2008, 2009, 2010. I kind of had to take any job I could get. And so it meant like a very low paying management role. And I was like, I remember my back would just be like a river of sweat every single day. Like, I was totally out of my comfort zone. Okay. Like, I know some people like the idea of like putting together a display, even though the display, they already tell you what to do, but like putting it together and making sure it looks nice and like building it is like creative and fun and exciting. And for me, it was like absolute torture. Like, I wanted to sit in the office and talk to the employees about their feelings and why they weren't performing and helping them perform better. Like, I wanted to be in HR. Like, I wanted to sit and create a schedule. Like, I'm behind a desk organization. I wanted to do that. But that wasn't the job that was available. And I had to take the job that was available. And it was not a job I naturally succeeded at. And again, like physical strength is not one of my strengths. And this job required a lot of physical strength. And so it was really hard for me because I had to develop skills that I didn't naturally have. Wasn't really naturally interested in order to get where I wanted to go. Then, and it sounds like this is very similar with an esthetician business owner. I'm sure you're seeing the parallels. Then I got the promotion like a year and a half into this role. I'd worked my butt off for. Got this promotion and I got promoted and I went to go work at a store. So the store I was working at was a very well-run store. My managers were incredible. They were very clear on what they wanted from me. So it was easier for me to succeed because I knew exactly what I needed to do to succeed. Even though I didn't know, I knew what the expectation was. I didn't know always how to get to that expectation, but the expectation was still there and it was consistent. So even if I didn't have the skills or resources or knowledge before I came in how to do it, I was able to figure it out because the expectation was very clear. So I went from that store to another store where the expectations changed by the minute. And it was chaos. My boss was at the end of their career and they did not have the same commitment that my boss and my other store did. I had a lot bigger responsibility. I was in charge of so many people. I had managers underneath me. And in some ways, that was a really great role for me, like managing people, like helping people. I had to motivate cashiers to sell the red cards, which was a big part of what my metrics were that I was getting measured on. But it was really intense because I never knew the mental state that my boss was going to be in. I never knew what priority was going to be important right now. It could be important right now and then not in 3 minutes or 3 hours or 3 weeks. And the unpredictability of how I was being successful, like if I knew I was being successful at my job, was killing me. And this was a job I was much better suited at. But the uncertainty of it all was really, really hard on me. And I had to go through a lot to get through that job. I had to develop a lot of skills that I did not have. Skills for dealing with a difficult boss who really would flip-flop like on the turn of a hat about things. I had to learn how to deal with really difficult customers. Again, being at that role meant they would call me to the service desk when someone was mad about something. And I actually owned the service desk. I was the manager in charge of it. And so I just got yelled at all day, every day. If it wasn't from my boss, it was from the customers. And it was like awful. It was so hard. But again, like we're coming out of the recession. Even though I had education, I had a college degree, I was getting great experience at this store and getting all these job skills. There weren't a lot of jobs. I didn't have other options that I could go to other companies at that time. As time progressed, most of my peers, we've all moved on to better opportunities and there's more jobs that have opened and all those things, but there wasn't anything else I could really do. And unless I wanted to quit and go back to school, which I didn't even know what I wanted to go back to school in at the time. Little did I know it was esthetician school. So I had to get up every day and go to a store that was chaotic from my manager and chaotic from the actual people shopping in the store, and then really try to show up for my employees. We call them team members, who I really did love and care about. Like, I really loved the people who were on my team. My managers were very important to me. I was trying so hard to nurture them, teach them, elevate them, have them get better skills. Like, it was the thing that kept me going. And so I think this is a really similar analogy to owning a business. You may have the skills to help your clients. Like, I had the skills to motivate and manage and teach my employees. But all the other things that also was required of me to have that role was at times unbearable. And I had a choice. I could either stick it out and figure it out, or I could quit. It's the same thing for you. You may be really good at doing the skin. You may be really good at hair removal, like the best anyone's ever seen, or lashes, or whatever it is that you do. But all the things that also are required to be a business owner, marketing, making sure you're making a profit, selling products, repeat clientele, all of the other things, managing your money, looking at profit and loss, creating financial goals, being comfortable looking at financial statements, all of these things is not why you became an esthetician business owner. You did not become an esthetician. You did not become an esthetician business owner to look at financial statements. You did not become an esthetician business owner to look at profit margin. Like, that's not what you wanted to do. Yet here you are, right? Like, I didn't want to actually ever work in a Target store, but there I was. Like, no shame against people working in retail. I just always knew it wasn't like I knew it was a job I could do, but it was never a job I wanted to do. Right? We all have, like, there's other jobs I know I could do if I needed to make money, but I'm not super interested in them. One of them for me is not waitressing. That is a job I cannot do. I'm a really bad waitress because I drop things and I forget things. Horrible waitress. But my point is, there are parts of the job you may hate. There are parts of the job that may make it feel like you are suffocating. There's parts of the job that you don't know how to do. All of that is okay. But the two most important things that you have to keep in mind when you're building your business is, if things happen in your business consistently, whether it's interactions with clients, interactions with other business owners, interactions with your family, interactions with the public, whether it's like social media or friends or just people, like, if things, like, let's say you have client interaction after client interaction where you feel like they're always unhappy, they're always complaining about prices, they're always this, like, it's just such a negative client interaction after client interaction. You're just like, I can't raise my prices, so my clients would freak out. And it's like all of this stuff that's really hard, heavy stuff. You have to figure out a way to manage your mind around that stuff, or you will burn out. There is no way around it. You cannot push yourself through it. If marketing, whether it's marketing in person or marketing online, feels like you're standing naked in front of a sea of people and it makes you sick to your stomach and, like, creates an entire fear reaction in your nervous system, you can't push your way through that. You have to figure out why that is. And I do recommend, if this is something that feels systemic for you, like every part of your business feels like a nervous system reaction, like fight or flight or freeze, where you, like, cannot take action, you cannot do it, I do recommend talking to mental health therapists because sometimes the vulnerability of putting yourself out in the world will trigger traumas that you have in you. And that does take time to untangle and heal from so that that does not continue to be your story that holds you back. Other people, like myself, I needed to learn coping skills, mindset practices that would help me not take things personally when my boss would get really mad about things I had no way predicting. It was something I had to really learn is like be very detached from her reaction. And that was a skill I did not have prior to working for her. And even though I hated working for her so much, I'm now, over 10 years later, I'm so grateful that I had that experience, that I learned that skill so that when I owned my own business, I had ups and downs. Not to say I didn't have rough days, rough months, rough weeks where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. But I had those skills that I had learned working for Target that helped me get my head straight and continue to be able to do my job. Because if you aren't able to run your business from a business standpoint, it's because you either have trauma that has not been solved. You do not have the skills, right? So it's either A, trauma, B, you don't have the skills. You literally don't know how to look at your numbers. You don't know how to see if your pricing is good. You don't know how to sell skincare. You don't know how to market. And if someone taught you that, you may be nervous, you may be a little uncomfortable, it may be like, ooh, you just don't love it. But you're really the mindset work it takes to get it done is totally achievable for you. So you need to do the mindset work to get the tasks done that you don't know how to do. Those are the two reasons I find why estheticians struggle so much with their business. Either there is serious trauma that is holding them back, and it gets activated every single time they try to put themselves out there in their business. Whether it's having a boundaries conversation with a client, raising your prices, marketing, any of the things that require looking at finances. Oh my goodness, this can be a big trauma trigger for people. Just looking at money can send people into a fight or flight, freeze, fawn role. And I've talked about this in my podcast before. If that is where you are, the sooner you can accept that's what's happening and get help, the better you will be, the better your business can grow. Because until you do that, the changing your mindset to do these tasks will be very challenging. Not impossible, but be very challenging, because every time you try to do the mindset things to get your brain right, like, all right, let's go, I can do this, the trauma is so overpowering that you can't do it. But if you're like me, where you just don't like doing it, like I didn't like physical work, like lifting shelves and stuff, I just didn't like doing it, naturally wasn't good at it. You can definitely learn that. You can definitely learn it. So you kind of have to figure out what's happening with you. And actually, if you want to come to the coaching call and ask me, we can talk through it. It's a great opportunity. What is really holding you back from getting done what you need to get done in your business? And I know it may seem like because I don't like it, that's a good enough reason. Just don't like looking at my money, my numbers, so I'm just not going to do it. That's not a reason. Have to do it. If you are a business owner. If you want to be a business owner, you have to be a business owner. That's part of being a business owner. It's part of the job description. You totally don't have to be a business owner. You can just be an esthetician and work for someone. And all this trauma and stress will fade away, because all you do is go in, do your job, and leave, unless you have a crazy boss. Then it's going to all be activated again. But ideally, you just go to work and leave. So you just get to decide, do you want to be an esthetician business owner or not? And if it's something that you want to do, you have to do all the parts of your job description. It just is how it is. I wish there was an easy way around it. I wish that you could just look your numbers once a year and totally know the health of your business, right? I wish you could do an Instagram post once a quarter and that was great. And maybe some people get to that point in their business for sure, but there are other things in their business that they don't want to do as they get to that level and they have to do. This skill that you're developing of perseverance through tasks you don't want to do and you feel uncomfortable doing is going to continue the next level of your business. I know what you're thinking. You're like, if only I could be fully booked, make X amount of money, then I might it's going to be so much easier for me. But it's not, because you get to that level, that means you have more clients. You usually have more clients that are variable people that have different reactions to things, where you may have had family, friends, great referrals as your clients, and it's just been this big love fest. When you get to the point where you have more clients that are complete strangers to you, and they don't behave the way you expect them to behave. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. They're complaining to me that they're not getting results on their skin, and then they don't use their skincare products. What do I do? Oh my gosh, this is really hard. They're telling me how much they hate their ingrown hairs, but I know they're not exfoliating. I can tell. This hair is trapped under their skin. What do I do? So the hard is still there. It's just a different kind of hard. So you just want to figure out how to deal with the hard and solve the right problem. I know you can do it. I want to help you. Come to my workshop. This is exactly what we're talking about. And if you have any questions, email me, info@blhbeauty.com. My inbox is always open. Have a fantastic week. Talk to you next week. Bye for now. Hey, if you like this podcast, please rate and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. I cannot tell you how much that helps my podcast grow. So you can click 5 stars if you like it and you want to give me 5 stars. And please leave a review about telling me why you like it so that I can help other estheticians grow their business. Thank you so much.